Welcome back to A Good Things Marriage Chat. I'm Tiara.
And I am Adrian. Welcome back. Welcome
Welcome back, y'all.
back on this cold, snowy day. Do I want to go to bed? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. But for the love of you guys, I got to show up. I got to show up and show out, okay? As you guys see, we are on the Zooms today and we have a special guest. I know you see him. He's right there. He's down on the bottom middle of my screen. We have a Mr. Joseph Harold joining us
Welcome,
today.
Joe.
Welcome.
Good evening, ladies. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
Absolutely. We're
anytime.
glad to have you here with
Anytime.
us. We're going to have Adrian go through some housekeeping rules and then we're going to have you introduce yourself.
Yes, yes. So before we get started and jump into meat and potatoes, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Follow us on the all the things. By the time y'all see this, TikTok may not be there anymore. So I'm gonna put all the other socials that we gonna pray that she don't go nowhere because we need her, but we gonna put all those socials down on the bottom so that you can make sure to follow us on all the new ones that are popping up every 5 seconds. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
um Also, oh well, that's about it on the housekeeping rules. I couldn't think. I'm
Mm-hmm.
a lot going on in the house, but let's go ahead
Right,
and
right.
jump meat and potatoes because I'm hungry.
You silly. Well, today, as Adrian mentioned, we have Joseph Harold, on the show with us today. We're going to be discussing the importance of a father being present. But before we get into diving into those meat and potatoes, Joe, if you just give us a little background about yourself, what do you do? Tell us about your family and just a little background.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. Uh, I'm originally a St. Louis native. Um,
Oh, hold on. You're breaking up a little bit, Joe. I don't know if your microphone is covered up, but you breaking up going in and out just a little bit.
can you hear me now? You guys get
Yes,
all
yes,
right.
sir. There we go.
My name's Joseph Harold. I'm originally a St. Louis native. I relocated a little bit over 15 years now to Houston, Texas, and then since then I relocated to Austin, Texas, which is right away. I'm back and forth to St. Louis quite a bit, their family, handling business, all that. So, no stranger to my hometown. Never home, always repping. So they say. Um, Career wise, in short, I'm a real estate developer. I develop commercial properties all around the state of Texas, southeast a little bit. I have three beautiful children, ages from 15 all the way down to 4 years old. So quite a nice spread there as far as in age range. I'm number seven out of eight children. um, I'm the youngest young man in the family, and then I have a little sister. So I'm lucky number seven, and I'm lucky to be here.
Yes, sir. That's definitely the way to look at it. Lucky number seven. I'm not. I was number one. So,
Me
you
too.
know,
Me too.
but we take care of those lucky number sevens though. The big sisters, we take care of things. We'll get.
Like, she's the oldest, six. So yeah, so she's the oldest. I'm the youngest. So that dynamic, that balance is right there, right on point. So
Yeah. So tell us, Joe, a little bit about what it was like for you growing up in your household. What was your father presence like? Whether that was biologically or even if you had male role models in your life that were there for you, and
yeah,
what
yeah,
that looked.
absolutely. So I did have a relationship with my biological father, very close knit with my father's side of the family. However, I did in the entirety of my life have a stepfather. So I had the best of both worlds, kept me in check on both ends, dynamic guys. And in addition to that, again, as I mentioned, I'm the youngest of eight. So I have four older brothers. My oldest brother is 20 years older than me. So I got to really see the blueprint early on what it takes to, from being a father to being an entrepreneur to having hustle, grind, and grit. So I really had the advantage of, being the youngest young man in the family and being in the position to be able to see the big picture and see the examples from all aspects, including my uncles. Very involved family on both sides. So mother and father.
Yeah, I
Yeah, and
think
that's one
that
thing oh, I'm sorry, Adrian.
I was gonna say, I just think that's amazing. Especially like, me and Tiara said that we're both the oldest. So the examples that we saw, growing up to be like, I know we're women, but just still the example of, how to be a respectable, young lady that came from either older cousins or aunties. Like my aunt is 12 years older than I am. So she's like my big sister. So like I watched her and even how I parent, like I watched how she parented her children. Her children, they're not even babies, they're 19 and 23. So, I watched what she did. And then I watched like what my friends did too, but I like kept my eye on that big sister figure. So I think that's amazing. And it's amazing to have those bonus daddies too.
Absolutely. It's definitely a blessing for sure.
Yeah, I love my steppies, all of them, because I got a lot.
Yeah, I don't I'll say one thing I really have always admired about your family, Joe, because I know some of your siblings is there's a lot of entrepreneurs. Like most of your siblings, I know a lot of them, and they all got that grit too, whether and they always continue to dig and thrive and find other ways to put their stamp in the world with entrepreneurship and keep going. Like, they even your mom is one of the strongest people that I've seen. And I really admire your mom. I was like, man, the more and more I've seen it, it's just like a lot of ambition, I guess you can say, within your siblings and your household and people pursuing their dreams. So that's good to know. So, what would you say as a father, just knowing with the example that you had coming up, what do you want your kids to see with you? How do you want them to see you coming up? What do you want to leave with them?
Well, the dynamic of fatherhood in its entirety and being able to make those daily deposits in my children and then be able to see it manifest is, a blessing in itself. But overall, no child is the same. I have three children. They're all between 5 and 6 years apart. So not only do I have three different children, I have three different dynamics, three different personalities. So my approach to their personality types and styles are all different. And my approach to each one of them are different because I have to meet them where they are individually. And then also with, the whole age gap deal and stages of where they are. But overall, from the youngest of just, I try to meet my 4-year-old where she is when it's the basic essentials. I'm talking like where she is, very basic. And then my son, which is the middle, but he's the only boy, which, technically he's the baby boy. So um, I talk to him as a young man. And when it comes to, and it's mostly things are like, things I want him to know, like principle based things like, son, always look a man in the eyes when you shake his hand, speak to everyone when you walk in a building, the basics, um, in short. And then my oldest, she's in high school, so she's approaching soon to be college. So I really had to work on her early on. She's the oldest, so you know how that dynamic is. We've got an oldest on the phone, but I explain things to her, and I'm in the stage now of really just laying it all out to her to let her know, like, hey, I'm giving you these tasks, and I'm expecting you to do these things because dot dot dot, more so focused on, hey, you're about to be out here in the world. You're not gonna be by yourself, but for the majority of the time, day to day, you're gonna be by yourself. You always have me for guidance, but you're about to be a big girl, and
Yeah.
it comes to that age. It wasn't so long ago I was her age, started my family very, very young, which thank God I did. But yeah, so I try to prepare her for the world. Um, Ultimately, like, hey, a couple of years, you're about to be hitting it. When it comes to time management and skills, as far as like, just being disciplined. I get a little more granular with her. My son, I'm not really. I'm hard on him as well because he's the boy in the family. So I'm like, okay, you got to hold it down. You're only boy. You got to do this, that, and the other. So I'm still pretty granular with him, and then the baby girl.
Yeah. So what would you say is an example of, like, when you said daily deposits? What are those daily deposits that you give or pour into your children?
Well, for one, before we leave the house every morning, I always tell the kids, be great. You know, um, do your best, be your best, and be the best. I say that every single morning. When we get home, we always ask, "How was your day today?" In passing, and then every night at dinner when we sit down, I'd say out the week we probably all eat together, five out of the 7 days a week, dinner. So we sit down. I'm asking each individual child, how was your day? You know, okay, that's good. It was good, or it was challenging. And then I ask, okay, so what was the best part of your day? We start with that first and foremost. And then from there, they tell me the best part of the day, and I say, what was the most challenging part of your day? And then from there, I try to give them tools to, like, well, maybe if you try this, maybe you'll get that result. In fact, put it in place, let me know what happened, and then, come back and report to me. So it's just about daily engagement. That's what I mean by the daily deposits, full engagement. If I'm traveling for whatever reason for work, we keep up the same ritual for the most part. We've got FaceTime, of course, but before they go to bed, we touching hands, we hugging, and yeah, we're just connected, staying connected.
Good. So I got a question. So I know, like you were saying, sometimes there be times that you're traveling. Like, how do you and your wife? I'm assuming that you're married.
Oh yeah,
Am I
oh
assuming right?
yeah.
Okay, I'm like, am I assuming right? Don't want to throw marriage on you if that's not what it is and not what you want. But how do you and your wife like work together? Especially like as far as being an example for your children. Like, how do you all work together to make sure like the whole family dynamic runs smoothly? Like, is it like I'm gonna drop off the kids and then you pick them up, or I'm gonna like, how do you guys work through that? Especially, with you being an entrepreneur, it seems like you might have a little bit more time. I mean, I know being an entrepreneur doesn't mean that you have a lot of time, but how do you guys work through that?
Well, I definitely have a very flexible schedule. So does my wife. She's more engaged with the children day to day. So when it comes to day to day operations with the children. She's more in tune with that. But overall, I'd say we have a balance. Like, we just basically stay in our roles. Like, she has her role, she know her place. I have my role, I know my place, and we bring that balance to each other. And anytime that we still got business and things in life happen. So anytime that there's any bit of resistance in whatever area, we end up picking that up for each other, and just overall communicating, like, hey, can you drop the kids off this morning, uh
Mhm.
do this, or I've been up all night. My wife, she's an entrepreneur as well, so
Mhm.
orders, and she makes all these custom things, ships all around the country. But she has nights where she's up to 2-3 in the morning, with the,
Wow.
especially around the holidays. So that's when I would step in. I take the kids. But overall, you have to communicate. One of my biggest rules is let me know in advance, and then let me know at least, like, 8 hours before or the night before, so I can have it in my forefront, the back of my mind and the forefront of my mind, because I do have a lot going on. But overall, just communicating and being effective. And for whatever reason, the communication slips because nothing's perfect. Uh, we just improvise and we'll figure it out without the extra, you know, stuff, without that type of resistance. So we've grown to that point.
Yeah, communication is definitely key, and I love that you talked about sitting and having dinner at the dinner table, because that's always something I've been big on. And um it's become a lot more trickier for us now because our girls are a lot older. My oldest daughter is 19 and my younger daughter is 15. And between all the activities that they doing and my oldest daughter going to work, I'm just like, man, you really go and look back appreciating, like you said, those deposits, those things that you did earlier on, even if that has to change, which it will change, you can still reference back and think back and know that those are the things that they will carry and they will remember having that time to communicate at the end of the day with you guys and, converse and find out about their day and things like that. So it's definitely important, which leads into my next question about just connecting with your children. Like you talked about how you obviously were raising multiple different people here, different souls. And so their personalities are going to be different. How their love language is going to be different. Just who they are, pouring into them by their interests and all those things are going to be different. So, what are ways or some practices that you use to connect with your children from the spiritual, emotional, and um, physical perspective, I guess you could say?
Yeah.
Like, do you guys practice things like looking at love languages?
I'm glad you mentioned that because those are all in all those categories. I'm very intentional about that. Spiritual is always above all.
Yeah.
To just prayer life. As my oldest was a lot younger, we would pray together a lot more. Now she's 15, so it's like, she don't. But we have like family prayer here, here and
Yeah.
um, the prayer is very important. I let my kids know in life you will face challenges. We won't always be around to help you navigate through that. So you have to always go to the source um, to get connected and get guidance and have light shined on your path. And then when it comes to the emotional, each child has their own dynamic with that. And when it comes to love languages, I know that, one child, they love what do you call it, physical touch and just the holding and all of that. The other one likes quality time, and the other one like quality time too. But I try to feed into whatever it is to do my best to be there on that. And then I'm glad you said physical as well because in our house we're very physical forward because with motion creates energy, and when you got energy you can think better, you move different, you have more ideas. Just like if you really got a good idea, as like you see now moving my hands, like you got to create motion to let the energy flow. So my daughter, my oldest ran cross country. She's now in a band, but she kind of let that slack a little bit. But I'm like, even now I'm like, come on, let's go to the gym with me. My son actually asks to go to the gym all the time with me, which he's only 10, so technically he's not allowed to go to the gym, but every now and then I'll take him, like when it's a slow day, I'll slide him in there. But as he get older, that's gonna be my workout buddy. And then my 4-year-old, of course, she's 4, so she's active. So physically fit, that's important. You know, if that's the aspect that you're referring to. But overall, just hitting all those points and just seeing, really like connecting with my inner child and the things that I used to want and long for as a child, and I try to pour that into my children overall, and just check those boxes and just connect with them because time moves so fast. You look up and you like you get the little memories on your little Google pictures and all that. It's like, man, that was 5 years ago. Or you hear an old video and their voice is all like tiny and squeaky, and it's like,
Right.
so
Yeah.
and well, I won't get into age, but I'm just thinking about like 15 years ago when I moved out here, graduating high school. Man, that was 15 years ago.
Right.
Time is rocking. But so overall, just taking advantage of that and
Yeah.
pouring area. That's my way of, in short, of doing that and being successful. So
Yeah. And one thing, as you were talking, I think about that, I've probably been pushed more to think about more so now is, now that my kids are getting older, I think it's very important to make sure that you are focused also on your health as a parent, your whole health, how you're taking care of yourself, making sure you're still poured into and living life on your own. Because some parents, they, and I'm all for pouring into our children, spending time with them and doing all of that, but if you don't balance that with your life of your own, you can become very lost in it, and where only your life is completely revolved around them, and then once they're gone, it's like, what do I do now? And I know a lot of moms definitely have that problem because we spend so much time nurturing and pouring into them, and being so used to giving baths and doing hair and all this other stuff. So I'm just curious, as a father's perspective, like, what do you do to make sure that you're practicing whole health for yourself?
Well, health is very important for me. You know, for instance, so I'll try to implement things for myself, be successful in it first, lead by example, and then that's when I kind of roll it out to the family, like, because I got the discipline. So they're not gonna see me slipping up. 4 years ago, I gave, 4 years ago in December, I gave up like beef, chicken, lamb, uh, all the land roamers that we used to eat, and we went vegetarian. And then most recently, I'll say maybe a couple of years ago, we went pescatarian, so just fish. And it was just a health goal for myself. And then
How did that go with the rest of the family?
that's just the beat that we rolled to. So it's like
I mean, but you have younger children, so I'm just curious
it helped
if
a bit. I mean, there was some resistance, of course. Like, of course, they wanted some chicken nuggets,
yeah,
a steak, or a burger. Definitely. But I was just like explaining to him, like, hey, look, this is what we're doing now, and this is why. Let me explain it to you.
yeah,
Like disgusting documentaries about things, just to kind of like influence them a little bit. So I use that a little bit, but overall, I know it's good for their health. And here we are. My wife, I think she got on board like a year later,
yeah,
but cooking it, I'm not buying it. If you buy it, I don't want to smell like animal flesh cooking in my house. I
yeah.
don't smell like that. So that was, and then eventually she would like she would buy like a burger or like a Chick-fil-A sandwich or something, and she would just take like a few bites and then she would waste it, like, and I always be like mugging her, look. So eventually she just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah, I hear you.
got a bit, but yeah, they just rocked and rolled with what the new program was. I mean,
Well, that's good. And I mean, that speaks to a little bit about just how important it is for, as the father, as a male role model, with the man in the house, leading and starting with something and being able to just, roll that out in the house. Because I can tell you, like, for me, there's been several things that, or several efforts that we've made to try to do things to be healthier in my household. So it doesn't always go the smoothest. It's more than resistance. It's
well,
questioning me about,
yeah,
okay, you made this, so what's healthier about it? This is a protein noodle, this is a whatever. And my husband, he's like off and on with it, but I know it would probably go different if he were persuaded to do different and led that way. But since he isn't sold yet, everybody else not sold. It just looks like me. It just looks like me. So they'll get there one day. He's kind of on the fence, like you said your wife was, so he'll get there eventually.
kids are older too, so it's like that's a little tougher. Mine was a lot younger, but overall, when it comes to just hobby, when it comes to just having my alone time and my solitude, my hobbies are important to me. My health is important. And then I slowly implement the kids because they're always like, "Dad, where are you going?" I'm like, "I'm
Right.
going to play golf or go work on my swing," and my son's like, "I want to go." So they end up rolling in it with me anyway. And sometimes I'll let them come. Other times I'm like, no, I gotta focus in and lock in, and I'll let maybe next time. So
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to ask too, Joe. I know that you mentioned that you guys have done quite a bit of movement, as far as like relocating to different cities. And I'm sure, with you having especially as many children as you have, like, major life events come up. And so I just wanted you to share and give like some best practices as a father, what it looks like to navigate
mm,
major life events, especially with moving and uprooting more than once, because it's not we're talking about moving from major city, not to 10 minutes away. So I'm just
Yeah.
curious about what that looks like as a
Yeah.
father. What would you recommend?
Yeah.
Well, as the family has expanded, we've always kind of expanded our environment and our, our house. But as far as relocating cities, I've only done that once, moving from Houston to Austin with the family. And during that move, I found it very important, myself and my wife, to include the children in the entire vision. Make them a part of the plan. For one, explain that we're moving, bring the excitement, the energy, and then also let them know why we're moving. You know, hey, there's a better opportunity here. Let me show you what this is going to do. Let me explain to you what this is going to do and how you're going to benefit from it. And then also including them in the entire process as far as like, I mean, all the way to a granular level, like looking at houses, looking at the different things to do in the city. We're Houston's a very flat, hot, dry, just humid, nasty, just horrible weather when it comes to heat. Austin's a little more chill, laid back. There's a lot of hills, mountains. I'm up in the mountains right now. Not really mountains. It's more so the hills. But compared to Houston, it's like a mountain. So a lot more of like hiking and biking. We're outdoors, so really just exposing them to that and showing them like, hey, look, it's got all the things we like to do, but we don't have to travel far. Right on the Colorado River, we get to go out on the boats on the weekend, hang out, have fun, do this, that, and the other. So really just involving them in the entire process. Um, for one, starting with my wife, letting her know like, hey, look, I've got this opportunity. This is what it's going to do. It's going to take us to the next level, and also here's how it's going to not only benefit me, but here's how it's going to benefit you. And then with us combined, this is how it's going to help us together. And then once we get on the same page, then we kind of roll it out to the kids like, okay, so here, this is what it's gonna be. But more like asking questions like, so what do you think if we moved, and are you up for that? Because they have friends at school and these type of things, and of course that's one of the things like, oh well, I'm gonna miss my friends, and I'm always like, well, if they're your real friends, you're always gonna stay connected, and they're gonna come out here, and you're gonna be getting, excuse me, you're gonna be getting invited out there for events and things like that. So I'm like,
Yeah,
move is gonna filter out all of that and show you who's for you anyway.
right, right,
I try to explain it to a child, but
right.
they get it. They get it.
Yeah. And you brought up a valid point. Like I definitely there's a huge difference, I would say, at least from how we grew up, or at least a lot of us grew up to now when it comes to parenting, with making sure that we take the time to explain to our children why. Because there's several times where I've heard or maybe even experienced, as great as my parents were, there was a lot of, if you want to know why, you don't need to know why. It's because I said so,
Right.
And so while I know they meant well and I understood, because there's this fine balance of making sure that they understand authority. At the same time, it's so much more beneficial when you can explain to them, because you want them to be able to think for themselves. You want them to be able to reason things on their own. And when it's time for them to go through those things, they can process themselves. And then, like you said, make them feel a whole lot better about what you're doing or trying to do or trying to accomplish, because they're feeling included. But also, it just makes it a little easier for them to process.
Mhm.
So, this is definitely commendable that you are including them and showing them, here's where would be beneficial for you, and here's why, and this is what it's going to do for our family, because I think that's extremely important.
It
Um,
definitely is. And when they get older, they won't be scared to be like, oh, we got to like relocate or I got to relocate. They won't be afraid of that. Like I know my dad, he was in the military. And so we lived in North Carolina and, different parts of, Fort Bragg and within the Fayetteville area. And then, my parents divorced, but we ended up moving to Georgia, like right outside of Atlanta. So, like me as an adult, like the idea of moving and relocating, I wasn't like, oh, if I ever needed to move or relocate, I was never like afraid about it because my mom and my dad made sure like I was comfortable. Like they included my sisters and myself in the move. So it was never like if I wanted to move now, I mean, of course, there's a lot of dynamics because we have children and we got to think about schools and, got to think about jobs and things like that. But I'm still like, if I needed to move now, it wouldn't be like oh my God. So, bringing it all back to the point, because sometimes ADHD be taking me on tangents, but I'm bringing it back to the point. That's good that you have included them in all of it, so that they're not afraid to at least go out and try new things or live somewhere new. It's not a fear for them because mommy and daddy did it, and it was okay when they did it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and that's
that's an
still in the
example.
kid. Can't. I mean, it's okay to anchor down, and I understand the value of family, but also know the difference of family and relatives. So you gotta surround yourself with those who are for your family dynamic, who is there to support you, who's gonna pour into your children, and then those who you want your children to be around and emulate. Because as we know, there's a lot of dynamics with that, with being in larger families. But overall, it's important to know, like, hey, when you got to up and go, and there's a better opportunity, you got to go there. You got to plant your flag. You have to learn that environment. You got to grow, because the future is only what you create it to be. And if you don't like what you see around you, you got to get up, like the little cliche saying, um, life has no remote. You got to get up and change it yourself. So I teach that to my kids, and I lead that, and they see it. Not only do I talk it, but I walk that through so they can see the path. So
Yeah, that's good. I want to ask you one more question. Um, I think it would be good for some of our fathers to hear also, just about the dynamic between a dad and a daughter. Um, as we've all seen, heard, know, there's a lot of different things that's talked about as far as daddy issues when it
mhm.
comes to girls. And so, what would be your best advice for a father who has a daughter who really does not know how to navigate? Because I'm sure you probably know it's more, it seems sometimes a little bit more comfortable, more natural for you to do things with the son because he's a male, right? And then you've had this experience firsthand about your daughter who's now a teenager, and I'm sure because I've seen it with my husband, that dynamic changes too, because this is your little girl, and of course she always remains your little girl, but
Yeah.
now she's changing into this young little girl or this young adult that's changing, that's experienced different things with hormones, with feelings, with just wanting friends and stuff like that. And so I know I said a lot,
Yeah, yeah.
but I guess what I'm saying is, what advice would you give to a father who's trying to navigate fathering his daughter, for those who struggle with it or have a hard time?
But can you also include fathering your son too? Because the way it's different. It's different. And I know you got a different outlook from what we know from the past of fathers raising their sons. So include both. But let's see what the daughter got going on. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, you know, I've always been and this every person, we're all individuals, so we all have our own approach when it comes to things. But for me personally, I've always been an observer. I've always been a good listener. Um, my mother, she's been an entrepreneur for over 50 years, and I had an advantage, I would say, being in her hair salon with her, just kind of as a kid listening to this and like, oh, you go ahead, and the lady just talking game and all that. But ultimately, as an adult, I would say, you know, understanding the feminine energy with my very masculine energy, and just kind of taking a step back and seeing what that is and what that means on different levels. I would say it all started with my wife and really getting to know her intimately and just hearing things that her experiences in life and all these type of things. So she helped me become a little more softer when it comes to my approach, as far as my tone and, how I connect and bringing it down and not always just jumping with a solution, but just listening. I still have I still have challenges with that because if she I'm very solutions oriented. So if she come to me with a problem in my head, I'm just like, I'm putting it all together. Like, okay, I got a whole plan for you. So execution.
Yeah.
But I've learned to really scale that back and just listen. And I've taken a lot of what she's taught me because she's very methodical when it comes to just, sitting down and, the soft voice and all that. So she really taught me how to uh, approach that more feminine energy. And then I take it more with my daughters. It's even more on a sensitive level because they're younger. They don't have the life experience. So they're not really coming from the same place as my wife, but I take those similarities and I kind of broaden it a little more, and I try to what they call it like mirror, just see how she's coming and talking and her approach, and if she's looking down and talking to me, I'm like, okay, this is something very pressing. But just case by case basis, meeting my daughter where she is and just listening and then asking and being proactive. But let me back up. It's important to have that alone time, father and daughter alone, not not daughters, but father and daughters included. Sometimes it's good for y'all to get all the girls and do your thing. But each individual, you have to connect um, and do something that they want to do. Whatever they're into, whether it's skating, bookstores, shopping, all these different type of things. Do those activities with them because I feel my daughter, she tends to um, express herself more when she's in her comfort zone and when she's doing things she likes to do, and just listen and just talk, ask questions, and just don't try to always bring solutions and then always throw a scenario out. So I'm like, so what would you do in that situation? And this, that, and the other. So you just take in the information, download, and that's my way of connecting. Um, so I can bring solutions to where we're like meeting and she's just like, okay, dad. So she's just not like, okay, dad, and all these kind of things. So just meeting them where they are and then communicating on their level of whatever connection that y'all, you connect with them on. That's my approach with my daughter. Now my son, it's a little easier. um, you know, just I see so much of myself in my son. Um, I was born uh, the last week of September. He's also born the last week of September. So there's a lot of similarities. Like the things we like a lot of the same things. Our minds are very creative, always moving, always thinking. And he's always like, "Did you know that?" Blah blah blah. Like he's always coming with it. And I was the same exact way as a kid. So I show him, grace when it comes to those things, and connect on him is just a lot easier. And just really giving him the game, letting him know about life and being a leader. Because ultimately, as a man in this world, you are, in most cases, you're going to be the head when it comes to leadership, whether that's at the workplace, in your career, whether that's at your church, whether that's in your home. And we all know everything starts at home. So when it comes to just connecting with them and just random things like, there's a little saying like, hey, like at first he didn't like golf, but now he's kind of getting into the golf, which I'm like, man, I'm really excited about that because he understands, because I've taught him, son, the smaller the ball, the bigger the business. So he didn't understand that at first, and I kind of explained it to him. I'm like, most of your deals are going to happen here out on the golf course. These are the type of people that this sport attracts. It attracts a different type of crowd. And then you go up a ball, and okay, now we're talking about tennis, another premium sport, brings a certain crowd, a certain level of people. So I teach them these things and give them these strategies. I read a lot, so I take a lot of those nuggets and I try to, chisel it down to a granular level where he can understand it, connect with them. But overall, whether it's daughter, son, um, twin girls, twin boys, whatever, just keep it real with your kids. Talk to them straight up, because when they go to school, when they around their friends, yeah, they your daughter or son to you, but there's a different lens on them when it comes to when they're around their friends or peers. They talk a lot more directly. They maybe
Right.
lose with their words, whatever. But all in all, just be real with your kids. Talk straight up with them. Just like, look, you don't do this. You don't kiss boys. You don't do this because you kiss him. You just gonna tell everybody anyway, and then you get this.
Right.
You shoot it to them straight. Give them the game. Whether that's about career, life, social, friends, fake family, all these type of things, and then show them and give them the tools on how to create those healthy boundaries. How to take time for your mental health, how to, because we can go on and on about this, but the social pressures are a little different than
Yeah.
uh, what we had. We had
Hmm.
but it was more in your face. It was real. You could feel the energy talking to people. It was
Yeah.
that like that aura. It was right here. But now
Right.
everyone's looking online, which we don't do the social media thing, and I don't encourage that until you ain't getting that to you. Can pay some bills. But
Yeah.
whole social media thing, um, you know, these kids they wherever they are mentally, and then they're sending these. I mean, the list goes on of the negativities on that. So the social pressures are different. So all in all, just keeping it real with your kids. Try your best to connect, not just how you want to connect, but connect how they want to connect, and understand that each child you can't connect with them the same. You can't talk to them all the same. You have to approach them differently. But before you do that, you have to learn them, and you have to be proactive and talk to your kids. If you're not much of a talker, just let them hang around you. I mean, even if y'all watching TV, whatever the case is, just
Yeah.
if you're store, yeah, you gotta have your little long time, but have that, but
Yeah.
and insert them because think back when you was a kid when you wanted to go and do this and parents were like nah. So
Right. Right.
use empathy
Yeah.
and
I
connect.
love that. And one of my most favorite things I like that you shared was you listening to your wife, because I think it's really important to highlight how important it is for you all to listen to one another concerning, because you're both observing your children, but you both see things from a different perspective, right? So there's going to be things that she notices that you may not, and vice versa. So I think it's very commendable, as you being the leader and the father still of the household, to listen to what she's sharing about, hey, you may want to approach this way or handle this way or whatever, because we both have things that we can contribute and both see things. And that's a part of this parenting thing together. Let's do this as a team. Let's work together. Let me share with you, you share with me. And how, that sounds like that's a huge part of you learning how to parent a daughter. Because there's a lot of us who did not learn what that looks like as a child. I mean, some of us kind of seen what our parents did with our siblings, but as you said, everybody's different. Everybody's personality is different, and even raising one girl to another, as I'm sure you know, since you have two girls, that's still different. And so it's very important for you guys to converse and listen to one another. So I think that's great.
And it's amazing that it sounds like both of you all are like just preparing your children, even down to the 4-year-old. You all are preparing them just, for life, for challenges, like, everything with the fitness aspect, with the giving words of affirmation and things like that. Like, you all are really working together as a team to make sure that your family and your children, when they go off to be their own individual people, they'll be good. And then in the meantime, in between time, or after they gone, you and your wife are gonna be good, because y'all, or it sounds like you guys are still building um your connection with each other, even though you are working through parenthood and entrepreneurship and, any other thing, that's just calling from life. You guys are working through that together. You're helping each other out. And I think that's amazing, because we don't really see a lot of that. Like, we don't, especially, well, I don't want to just say in the Black community, because I don't know what the stats are, but, you know, it seems like you see more people that look like us that are like, I don't want to be married, and it's a lot of baby mama talk and baby daddy talk, and if that's y'all ministry out there, YouTube land, if
Well,
that's y'all ministry, that's your ministry.
yeah,
um but I love that you all are just being a great example, not only for your children but for other people that are watching you all as well. Because I don't think we realize that as married people, other people are looking at us too, whether it be our siblings, whether it be our family members, friends. They're watching us too, and they're watching those examples that we're putting out there. So I commend you all for that. I think that's awesome. I really
appreciate
do.
God be the glory.
Yes. Yes. Well, Twee, do you have anything else that you want to ask Joe, or you got to unmute yourself?
That would help, wouldn't it? No, I appreciate you coming on, Joe, and just giving us your insight as a dad. I'm sure our audience can appreciate it because we always try to share things, from different perspectives for both the husband and the wife. But I think it's always great if we can have a husband, father on the show and just give insights from their perspective. And what you guys do and kind of understand for your thoughts or your own personal dynamic. And so people can relate to different ways of doing things. So I really appreciate you coming on today
Mm-hmm.
and chatting with us.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yes. And then we got to have you back on with your wife
Yep.
next time.
She would
So,
love to join.
Did you
yes,
tell her
yes.
already?
Yep. Well, look,
Okay, good.
appreciate it. You all have an awesome and amazing evening.
You
Uh,
too.
keep up doing what you're doing. And thank you again for reaching out. It's always
All right.
Awesome. Well, y'all, we will end the video right here. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all the social media things because it's cute and stuff. And we will see y'all next week. Be safe,
See
be
y'all next
warm,
week.
bundle up. Don't get out here in the snow if y'all got it. We love you guys. Bye. Hi, guys. This week's business highlight is Charged Roots, a small Black woman owned business serving the community with fresh, pressed juices to get your health in check this year. Everyone is looking to better their health, so add Charged Roots fresh juices as part of your routine. You can place your orders today on their website at www.chargedroots.biz, and make sure to follow them on all of their socials.